Hi, so this is Wednesday's video. Today is March 25th, and this video is going to walk you through doing the homework that is due Sunday, that is the draft infographic. So we have so far this week chosen some colors for your project that you will be using as your theme and your branding for your draft this week of your infographic and your final drafts that we're going to work on next week. So please check Canvas for your final color choices. I'm still getting some sign off on them for the Tuesday, Thursday class. The Monday, Wednesday class, I don't have final colors as of this moment, so I'm hoping we'll have those by class time tomorrow for our ASU 121 class. But all of you should have colors probably by Thursday afternoon that you can work with. So when you're making your infographics, you'll want to make sure you use those colors. I showed you how to use those colors in a video earlier this week. So the infographic draft is due. We also did research for your project so that you can use that to create other visualizations for your infographic on Sunday. So I'm going to briefly go over the assignment for Sunday. I'm going to just hit some highlights because infographics are something we have done before. We've worked on them in class. You've done one. Obviously, this one, I'm expecting that you will do better than the first time in terms of making sure you're telling a single story and all of the other elements that go into an infographic. So we keep coming back to skills, and that's intentional. The idea is that every time we come back to a skill, we're going to learn something new. We're going to work on improving that skill, and now we're back to infographics. So infographics, I'm going to walk you through just a few of the basic reminders for creating them. You will need to create 3 new visuals for your infographic for Sunday. So whatever visuals you created last Sunday with your survey data, great, you're going to use those again, but we need 3 new visuals for your infographic for Sunday. So you can create a new icon array based on the data that you found. You could create a word cloud based on your survey data. You could use create a word cloud based on that information we learned this week. You could create new charts or graphs based on your survey data, or new charts or graphs in Excel based off of data you found from your research. But altogether, you should have 3 new visuals in your infographic. They should not be reused from the visuals we created from your survey data. With those 3 new visuals, you want them to have one overall message. So I'm going to remind you what the rules are for infographics. I'm going to pull that up on the screen. So if you recall, when we talked about infographics before spring break, we went over these rules. Infographics should tell one single story. And it should be a story that is engaging in some way. So it shouldn't be the story of dorm rooms are unclean. Okay, that's interesting, but what do you want me to do with that information? For the golf cart topic, it shouldn't be something random about golf carts on golf courses, because that's not the intent of using golf carts. It should be about your project. For the, we talk about cleaning, for the water group, we should talk about something that relates to the project you are proposing, but you can use outside data. So we can talk about some of the data I've seen already, water bottles and the effect that has on our landfill use. That gives us a good justification for why we should be doing that project. For my drug and alcohol or substance abuse group, there is some good data I've already seen posted regarding drug and alcohol use nationally that would be great as part of an infographic where the main point is telling one single story, not a really broad one, but one specific to your project. So each of the pieces, and again, you have a minimum of 3, each of the pieces on the infographic should contribute to that story. So again, it's like we were writing an essay. You have a thesis and you have 3 supporting pieces of evidence. It should take your eyes on a predefined journey. So if I'll show this later, you can do it vertically, you can do it horizontally, but it should kind of have a journey to it. It's not just 3 random pieces of information, it should kind of tell the story. It should be well structured, it should have a clear message, it should be visually appealing. So again, we are going to use our clarity, our conciseness, our clearness, our composed nature to send or to make it visually appealing, we can use some graphics, but be very sparing. Make sure they are clean and clear and concise so that it's visually appealing. It's not cluttered. It should be accurate and well researched. So again, at the bottom, you're going to have your sources. They should come either from your survey data, which should be sourced, or it should come from some good quality internet source. And it should use all of the chart techniques you've learned so far: titles, colors, chart types, labels, all of the things that we've used. Now, this is a draft infographic. So while I want you to do as much as you can, we are going to work with editing them next week. So you will have the opportunity to do some editing next week in terms of the chart techniques. As you're working, make sure you're saving all of the pieces as well, so you can go back and edit them. If you do the icon array and delete it, if you did it in Visme and delete it, we can go back and edit it as easily. So make sure that you are definitely saving each of the pieces or all of the pieces of your work individually so that they can be edited. So just again, some reminders for working on your infographics. We use PowerPoint to create your infographics. When you go to PowerPoint, we're going to share the screen again. When we go to PowerPoint, you'll want to create a new file. So File and New. And your version of PowerPoint may be a little different. My home computer's got an older version, so I can't do quite as many things with it. So you're going to create a new PowerPoint. You're going to delete the boxes. So select them and click Delete. And then remember, you're going to set the size of the page to be a little bit larger so that you have a little bit more room to work with. We're going to use the 8.5 by 14 size for our infographics. So that is under Design. And it is under Slide Size. And I want Custom Slide Size. And so I'm going to do 8.5 by 14. It's a legal size piece of paper, 8.5 by 14. And as long as you do this before you put anything on there, it doesn't matter what you select, maximize your ensure fit. So this is going to be the long version. If you would like to, you can always go into custom slide size. You can always change it to landscape. So it's going to flip that to the longer version. I prefer the vertical, so I'm going to change that back. Okay. So now you have your workspace to work with. So again, you're going to create 3 new visuals. I have some visuals that we had from last year that I'm going to use on my infographic. So I have one here about this. I'm using the bee example again because I have all the things created for it. So I have this Bible chart created. Again, I've saved it to a new slide. This is an issue that we continue to have with this class. And it is, I'm going to start giving zeros on assignments if you cannot save your documents in as new slides. So again, remember, you're going to have your, if you do your chart, remember you select it, you click Move Chart. Oh, I haven't shared this screen. Okay, so you have your chart on your sheet. Click Move Chart, click New Sheet, click OK. And then when you file, save as, you're going to save it as, for PCs, you're going to save it as a PDF. It saves it, you're going to choose that from the list, and you're going to save that as a PDF. In Macs, it's a slightly different, but it's basically the same. So now I have that saved. Okay, so side note. So here is the chart that I want to include in my infographic. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. And so with Microsoft products, what's really nice is they work together very well. So I can actually just select this whole thing if I want to, just select the outside edge, Control C, copy it, and then I can tab over. So I'm going to share the correct screen. Okay, share. And then I can actually just Control V and paste it. Should be able to just paste it. And now it's nicely floating on my sheet. It should resize, but it's not. So that's the downside of doing it this way, is that because it's almost full function, if you do certain things, it doesn't often want, it wants to give you more functionality than you need. So if that's going to be a problem, in this one it is, I'm going to go back to my Excel sheet. And so the other thing that I can do is I can save it. I can save this as, I can copy it as an image. So again, I can still copy it, Control C. And then when I go over to presentation, my presentation, make sure I'm on the right screen. So when I'm in my presentation, instead of just Control V pasting, I'm going to right click, and then I am going to paste it as a picture. So if you select picture from that menu, now it has a little bit more ability to be sized. I don't want to make that too small because it's kind of smaller text. Obviously, when I look at this more large at 100%, because right now it's 49%. If I look at it at 100%, it looks very readable. I want to make sure, and you can see there's a box around that. I don't want that box. So I'm going to go back to my screen. This is something I saw on several people's infographics last time. I want to make sure that I don't have that box around there. And you just need to select it. You can right click. We can format chart area. We're going to select border, and we want no line. So now when I copy it, I should be able to not have a line. I'm going to double check. I don't know if I showed you that, so let me show you that again. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to select format chart area, and then I'm over here, I'm going to select border and no line. Okay, so now again, I'm going to go in, I'm going to paste it as a picture. Now I don't have a line around it, I have a lot more ability to make it look like it's floating. If you have a white background, you should have white backgrounds on your charts. You want the background to kind of blend in as much as possible. Again, trying to keep it clean as much as possible. So I've got one element on my chart. I want, oops, it's not wanting me to forward any. I don't know why it's not happy with me. Okay, so I've got one element on my chart. And now I want to add some other elements. So many of you will want to do icon arrays in Visme. So if you want to check Visme and you want to create your icon array in Visme, as we've done many, many times. Again, some tips for creating your Visme icons. Make sure you start with a very large canvas size. Don't start with a very small one. So when you do a new project, make sure your project you're using the slide, the PowerPoint slide size. That's the best one to use. Second tip is when you create your icon array, please make sure your icons are evenly spread out. So don't have 10 rows of 5 and then 1 row of 3 at the end. We want to make sure it's visually, we can see the proportions visually. If it's not even, our eyes can't see those visual proportions. So Visme, we create our icon array. Remember, when you create your icon array, you are going to be using data, and you're going to use this icon array, and then you can edit that. Also, please remember when you're using Visme, do not use paid or premium graphics. We want to be able to use these for your posters. If you use premium graphics, it puts that premium thing in the background, and we can't use that on your poster. So please make sure you're using unpaid free graphics so that we can actually use this for your posters. So we have our image. We're going to download that image from Visme. You just want the JPEG because that's free, and we will generate that and download it. And so that's now in my downloads folder. I want to show you another way we can insert things onto PowerPoint. So if I'm here on PowerPoint and I am on the insert tab, oh, I gotta make sure. I think I was just not sharing with you. Okay, let's go back to the screen. Okay, so if I'm on my PowerPoint screen and I want to insert a picture, I can go to the insert tab and I can go to pictures. And since that's in my downloads folder, you all remember I'm not really good with laptops. This is my downloads folder. So now I have that image as well. So I have my icon array, I have a chart, and then I have some other images, some other charts that I'm going to use. These were created by students last year, and they were, they said we were okay to share them. So let's see here, make sure I'm sharing. We're gonna open those. So I want to do one of the images we have for education. So we have this image, people who are educated about the decline in bee population are less afraid. So we're going to insert that one into our infographic as well. So I'm going to go insert pictures. And in this case, I need to find it in my folder. Let's do education. So people educated about the declining bee population are less afraid. I'm actually going to insert an extra one because I want to tell a complete story. So I want to also insert another infographic I have. Or I'm sorry, chart I have, not infographic. Now, again, I'm using these are actually different students created these different graphics. So they're slightly different. They use the same colors because we had already agreed on our color scheme, just like you're gonna do. But there are some different font choices. But again, next week when we edit, we're trying to get them consistent so that we can use them in our posters. But for this purposes of this assignment, I'm gonna just, since it is a draft, I'm gonna show you some more draft ideas. So when you're inserting your images, one of the things you can do just to make sure that you have it able to move around, you can do the size and position. And on position, oh, this isn't what I wanted. Let's try format picture. We should be able to format the layout. It's a little different in this version of PowerPoint that I have on this laptop. So let's see if we'll just be able to drag it and do what we need to do. So now I have my images. I would probably want to put a couple of different graphics on here to kind of tie some things together. Maybe a bee, maybe a honeypot, something just that would help visually tie some stuff together. And I also want to work on the story that I am trying to tell, because right now I just have a collection of things, but it doesn't really make sense as a story. So I want to put that together with some other words. So we know that there's been a reduction in the bee colony. We know that our goal is to try to convince people to use bee hotels on campus and to use them, but there's some fear with the bee hotels. So we're going to make our argument, and our argument is bees are dying. There's been a reduction in bee colonies. Bees are dying. People who are educated about that decline in bees are less afraid of bees, and people will spend more money if they are aware of the declining bee population. And on average, they're going to spend $3.23. I feel like argument-wise, I want to say how much they're willing to spend. And then I want to talk about, wow, they're going to spend more, even more, if we can educate them. So if I look at the actual point I'm trying to make, I am actually trying to argue that we need to educate people, more people about bees and the decline in bee population and if we do, they're actually going to be more willing to fund our project, that there's a willingness to fund our project. So I'm going to want to give this a title. I'm going to say, I want to give this a thesis, basically. I'm going to push this down a little bit, maybe over. You don't have to worry if it hangs off of this slide a little bit, especially the white, but you can always crop this. So you just select it. And then you would go under design, I believe, and oh, sorry, home. There it is, crop. And you could always crop that to make it a little, oops. Again, the touchpad is not my friend. There we go. So we can crop that, enter, I'll click away from it. So I want to add a title. So we're going to insert. We are going to put in a text box. Again, we want to use our color themes and our fonts as much as possible. I don't have the font for this still here, but it appears that we used an Arial style for the first visual. So we'll use that. Here, I'll use the Arial black. And so we want to the title of this, again, you want an active title as much as possible. So support for funding for bee hotels increases with education. Now again, I want to format this. I feel like it's a little too small. I probably might want to reword it. But you want an active title for your draft. At least for this week, we can get our draft with an active title. And then we've got our graphics. Now, again, I think for this, I might actually want to do some rearranging. I may want to add some words on here to kind of make my thesis flow to the things I said in terms of like people are willing to pay this much, but they'll pay more if we could do some bee education. So therefore, bee education is something we really need to do. And then again, for our infographics, we need to make sure we insert a text box at the bottom, put your sources. So make sure you're citing your sources, even if it's just a link to the web address, and format that nicely as well. So we had the example of our infographic that we used back before break. You can always use that as your own example. But basically, we want to make sure that we are using 3 new visualizations. You are putting them into a thesis, you're using consistent colors, and use the colors your team chose. They'll be available to you on Canvas. Make sure that your infographic, again, is unified in that topic, unified in that theory. It's laid out as nicely as you can for right now, and you have the sources. I'm definitely going to be checking for 3 new visualizations, colors, and sources. Those are the things I'm going to definitely be checking for. Many other things. We are going to work next week on editing. We're going to edit your infographics and we're going to edit your 3 charts. At the end of the week, you're going to have a lot of source material to work with when you're creating your posters for your AAC projects. I think that's everything. I tried to go as quickly as possible. If you need any help, I'm not getting a lot of people asking to do Zoom meetings with me. I miss you all, and I feel like some people are really needing some help. I feel really badly that I am not there in the classroom with you, and so I would love to be able to help you. as much as possible. I did want to announce that I am probably going to schedule a synchronous class session, so a class session during our time, if not for next week in our second class period of the week, then for the first class period of the week after that. So I will send that out via Canvas as soon as possible, but I want to look at the schedule and see when we need to meet together to kind of finalize things for your AAC projects. But I probably will be either, again, the second class period next week, so that would be either be Wednesday or Thursday, depending on which class you're in, or the first class period that next week, which would be a Monday or a Tuesday. I will send that out via Canvas. Again, if you need anything, contact me. Otherwise, I will be posting a video for you on Sunday. Bye.